In this corner, Two-Face from the Target exclusive Batman Retro line. And in this corner, Two-Face from the DC Multiverse Dark Knight Trilogy Bane Build-A-Wave. Two men with two faces in a two-way battle in a video released on a Tuesday, and in true Two-Face tradition, I'll be determining the winner of each round by the flip of a Two-Face coin. Stay tuned, even I don't know what's going to happen. Welcome to 5 Points of Articulation, where I review action figures and then articulate 5 points to help you decide if you want to add that figure to your collection. The 5 points I discuss are packaging, presentation, posability, playability, and price. I'm Jason, and if you enjoy my content, please like, share, subscribe, do all the YouTube rigmarole. Starting off with the packaging, and already we can see that these two figures are as different as the two sides of Two-Face's face. 66 comes in a colorful blister card. The Dark Knight comes in a collector-friendly window box. Really a big missed opportunity not to make this figure 2 of 4, but hey, at least it's DC Gaming Build-A-Figure Wave 2. Gaming? Really? For those interested in 66, here's that barcode. On the back of the Dark Knight version, we get a rousing endorsement for the Bane Build-A-Figure, with a tiny little picture of Harvey Dent's good side down here. The back of this one, however, is a bit more helpful. We get a really cool picture of the figure that we're getting, and some amazing artwork from the Batman 66 comic to let us know that that's where this is from. According to leaks, that's how we're getting Batgirl. It's also the artwork they used on the cover of Batman 66 Volume 3. It's a missed opportunity not to have used the artwork from Batman the Lost episode, but I still think it's good. It is nice to see an accessory that isn't an onomatopoeia, but it also kind of looks like something's missing. Though I suppose there's a lot of dead space in this box too. Each one has its strengths, but which one wins the round? Let's see what Fate has to say. Bad side. For packaging, this round goes to the Dark Knight. Moving on to presentation, and the 66 figure stands at 6 inches, and the Dark Knight version stands at just over 7. On the surface, it might seem unfair to compare such different figures, and if there's one thing the Two-Face is about, it's about what's fair! But despite the fact that it looks like one of them is taking the other one to school, they do have a lot in common. Two-Face never appeared on the original Adam West TV show because producers thought he might have been too scary. An outline was drafted by sci-fi legend Harlan Ellison, which was adapted into a comic called The Lost Episode. Despite the fact that it's based on a comic, they really did go the extra mile to make him look like a real person. Specifically, William Shatner, who voiced the character in the animated movie Batman vs. Two-Face. On the subject of William Shatner being Two-Face, what do you get when you cross Two-Face and Scarecrow? Denticrene. That's a Boston legal joke. The Dark Knight version, of course, is based on the movie. And oddly enough, I feel like this looks more like William Shatner than this looks like Aaron Eckhart. They did a great job on the burn side, but for some reason, the unscarred half seems a bit more stylized. That said, I do really appreciate the paint and texture on the burn side of his jacket. Obviously, it's not as outrageous as he looks in the comic, but it is a nice touch. And honestly, this is a good opportunity to talk about the comic. Classic Two-Face is half orange and half purple, with a greenish face and crazy white hair. Honestly, I like the way they've done it here. The orange and purple is still there, but it's on his bad side. There's also some pretty cool texture in the suit that reminds me of Tommy Lee Jones' version. The nice thing is, if you look at him sideways, he looks like a regular dude. As for the unscarred side of Aaron Eckhart, there's some texture in there too, though for some reason the texture on his diaper doesn't match the rest of his pants. One thing the movie version did that I love is including the coin in his grip. I'd loved it even more if he came with some alternate non-coin gripping hands, but that's a conversation for later. Going back to 66, and the delineation between the two sides is nice and crisp, though the back is a bit messy. They also did a nice bit of dry brushing on the face. They missed a bit of his nose, unfortunately, which I'll have to touch up, but while we're here, take a look at the different eyes. Really cool job on that. So then, what does the coin say? No! I should probably leave that in. So, what does the coin say this time? Bad side. For presentation, this round also goes to the Dark Knight. Moving on to posability, and I don't know what the coin's gonna say, but I think we all know what reality is. For on the top, 66 heads on a ball joint, and the movie version is on a dumbbell joint. They can look up this much, which in the case of 66 is not at all, and they can look down this much, which in the case of 66 again is pretty much not at all. Also, notice the flesh-colored nose. 66 does get a bit of tilt, the Dark Knight version clearly more so, but they can both turn all the way around. Moving down, they both have swivel hinge shoulders that can raise up 90 degrees. No rotator cuff, but he does get a little bit of range in there. At the very least, he has a bicep swivel. He also has double-jointed elbows. 66, by contrast, has single-jointed swivel elbows. The swivel serving a similar function to the bicep cut. 66 has rotation in the wrist. The Dark Knight has wrist balls that can swivel and hinge. Moving to the middle, and 66 has a waist cut. The Dark Knight has a diaphragm joint and a dumbbell waist. Using both, he can arch back this far, which given the jacket isn't a lot, but he can hunch forward this far, which for a DC Multiverse is the best I've ever seen. He also gets tilt and twist. Below the belt, and 66 has T-style swivel hips. They can kick 90 degrees, but have no split whatsoever. The Dark Knight version, of course, has DC Multiverse style hips. They can't kick as far, but they do get a pretty decent split. They also get a little bit of twist. Moving on down, and 66 has single-jointed swivel knees. In that regard, he's kind of better off than Eckhart, but of course Eckhart benefits from double-jointed knees, as well as toe articulation, and McFarlane ankles that can swivel, hinge, and pivot. So, how much you want to bet that this time it's going to give it to 66? And... okay, let's see. Yep. For posability, this round somehow goes to 66. Moving on to playability, and the 66 version comes with a full-size two-face coin. Instead of God, the engraving says, "In Heroes We Trust." Since it's McFarlane Toys, it could have also said, "In Todd We Trust," but whatever. Odd that they didn't make the date 1966. The reverse side is the same, just scratched up. Nice bit of thickness to this, and despite being solid plastic, you can flip it. This is such a refreshing change of pace from the sound balloons we usually get. I'm so glad that McFarlane Toys has listened and given us a character-specific accessory. The fact that he comes with a giant coin kind of reminds me of the original Toy Biz figure. As for the Dark Knight version, he comes with a trading card and a figure stand. Pause here if you want to read it. He also comes with Bane's torso, and that's it. Not one character-specific accessory in the box. I understand that because of Warner Brothers they couldn't give him a gun, but they couldn't have at least given him alternate hands? Maybe a gun-holding hand or just a fist for the left, and then a coin-holding version on the right? Or why not give him a full-size coin? What a fun collection that could be. Fortunately for the Dark Knight version, playability is more than just accessories. It's also about how well your figure plays with others. Starting off with my entire Two-Face toy collection, and here we have the Toy Biz version. Two-Face might be about balance, but clearly this one leans more in one direction. For the first Kenner Two-Face, and here we have Batman the Animated Series. This show reimagined Two-Face's suit as being half black and half white. A few years later, it was updated for the new Batman Adventures. This time the lines were made a little bit tighter. For the first live-action Two-Face, and here we have Tommy Lee Jones for Batman Forever. Next up, and here we have a classic Two-Face from the DC Universe Classics Gotham City 5-pack. Lastly, at least for my collection, and here we have the Arkham City Two-Face by Mattel. Notice that he also has a permanently sculpted coin. Focusing on 66 for a minute, and here we have the classic TV series Adam West Batman. So cool to see them together. Here's Robin, the Boy Wonder. Here we have Joker. As you can see, the pinkish purple is a match. Since I have both, for Penguin I figured I'd pull out both McFarlane and Mattel. And then for my favorite live-action Riddler, and here we have Frank Gorshin. I cannot sanction your buffoonery. Granted, I do have a few more, I'm just behind on the reviews. That said, I'm sure at least a few of you are curious about how he scales with other DC Universe classics. Personally, I think he might skew a bit too short. Still, I do want to give him a fair shake. Penguin at least works. As for Riddler, though, who can't sanction who, little man? Moving back over to McFarlane, and here we have Gotham's Dark Knight to go with its White Knight. Batman's a hair shorter, which seems wrong to me. That said, for a couple of other live-action Batmen, and here we have Ben Affleck and Pattinson. For those of you who are curious about how he stacks up against some comic figures, and here we have 3 Jokers in Rebirth. And for just a few more kinda sorta realistic versions of Batman, and here we have Arkham Knight, the Libre Mijo Page Punchers, which is a bit too short, and Injustice 2, which is also too short. Since his face is a bit more stylized, if you want to fudge him into your comic collection, here we have the Comedian, Mortal Kombat 11, and custom kit bash versions of the Joker. This one's a combination of Death of the Family and the Clown. Here's the Arkham City Penguin, Arkham City Catwoman, Arkham City Ra's al Ghul, Arkham Origins Deathstroke. Come to think of it, they're both kinda two-faced in their own way, and Arkham Knight Scarecrow. Realizing I was talking about this being a comic book display and have shown you nothing but video game characters, here we have Hush, and the DC Designer Series Greg Capullo Riddler. Who's the little man now, leprechaun? Bringing our two Two-Faces back together, and for a relative scale comparison, here we have Pizza Spidey and the Spectacular Spider-Man, and as always, here they are with Stealth Iron Man. So, who gets the point for playability? Uh-oh. Bad side again. Only by sheer luck for playability, this round also goes to the Dark Knight. This leaves us with nothing left to discuss but the price. Sadly, inflation finally struck the 66 line, and this figure retailed for $20. As for the Dark Knight, while the single multiverse figures have gone up to $22.99, the build-a-waves haven't been affected yet. If not for the Bane pieces, this would have been $23 and have included no character-specific accessories. 66, by contrast, might be $20, but at least he has a full-size coin you can play with and enjoy. Not exactly a toss-up, but let's see what the coin says, and bad. Which means that for price, this round goes to the Dark Knight, who wins the battle 4-1. Of course, that's what the coin says, but what if it was up to me? Because of the collector-friendly nature of the window box, I do see an argument for the Dark Knight, but boy does this pop on a shelf. It also has a clear representation of what you're supposed to be getting. As for presentation, I'm also more impressed with 66. Obviously, Posability would have gone to the Dark Knight, but with so many figures, vehicles, and play sets available or on the way for playability, I have to give it to 66, and honestly, he's my pick for price. So yeah, if it were up to me, the winner would be 66. But hey, that's just my 2 cents. If you like this video, check out one of these. Thank you so much for watching. I'll be back again real soon, but until then, play nice and have fun.